If you are here on the continent, we need you, because I think what's happening is that I noticed that there's so many programs, there's so many ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi programs just popping up everywhere because somebody took ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi 101, 102, 201, 202, and then when they went finish 202, they came out with one Masters of Education in Hawaiian language. And so dub themselves to become Kumu ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, right? And I think we need to start identifying and just like making note that that's not okay. Like, because if you're not teaching, if you don't teach the babies from the beginning that protocol, you will lose them already.
It is important for people who are looking to educate to not only know what you're going to talk about, but a little bit more. So just because you took 101, 102 doesn't mean you can teach 101, 102. Maybe at the very least take 201, 202, and then you can teach 101, 102. But in that same vein, you should still be doing protocol. You should still be thinking in Hawaiian. You should still be teaching people how to think in Hawaiian.
Is that to all of our poʻe Hawaii who want to learn Hawaii, who are actively learning Hawaii, ʻŌlelo Hawaii, who are actively, going to the Hawaii Loa program at Windward Community College, taking your programs online, and all of those. It's not about just learning the language. It's not about just learning how to say the word. It's about how do you apply it to no thinking Hawaiian. Like, how do you think Hawaiian? And once you get to that place, that is the understanding of ʻŌlelo Hawaii. Hello, my kako, and welcome back to our second episode of season 2 of KOKO podcast here at our Aloha Resource and Community Center. Mahalo for joining us, mahalo for supporting, and mahalo for your kako of our first episode with Mr. Kalani Pe'a, just bringing him into our space and welcoming the conversation of what it means to be Kanaka here on the continent. And so with that being said, we wanted to make sure that we honored and uplifted our legacy and our alumni of ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, and to empower and celebrate the movement of Hawaiian language as we celebrate for this Pepeluali ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi month. And so we are so honored that ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi is thriving here at Kalo, and we are so privileged to be able to have poʻe from Hawaii, poʻe who are of our ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi education, our medium education, and one of our members. So we are so honored to welcome Keola Kama to our podcast here at Kalo. And so I'm going to pass it over to you so you can ho'olauna yourself and just talk to our guests here.
I think that was a great ho'olauna. They know me already. Nah.
Oh.
Mahalo again for the introduction. And as you mentioned, it is important for us to engage with that ʻŌlelo piece, especially with Mahina ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi coming up. To start off, my name is Keola Kama. For those of you who know me in the Hawaiian atmosphere, for those of you that don't, you'll know me better as Dustin or Dostin, depending on how you pronounce my name. But I started my ʻŌlelo journey at Kumu Leialoha Kaʻula. I first attended the Nānākuli Elementary Hawaiian immersion program, and from kindergarten to 3rd grade I was there, and even though I didn't have the family background that some others had, it was important that I took those classes to really gain that foundational piece of not only learning ʻŌlelo vocabulary, right, but also that worldview that we tend to have when speaking ʻŌlelo, and we'll probably touch a little bit more on that later. But after 3rd grade, I moved up to Washington, so not too far from over here. And at the time that I was living here, I was living with my mom, and even though she didn't speak ʻŌlelo, we did do a lot of Hawaiian things, right? We practiced hula, we kanikapila with my papa and my uncle. So there was still not necessarily remnants, but pieces of ʻŌlelo that carried through, whether that was mele, oli, even hula has pieces of that in it. And even though I was here, one thing that really helped was you could tell my mom was Hawaiian from a mile away. She had a mouth of one Hawaiian, and she looked like one too. So it really wasn't hard for her to find other Hawaiians in the on the continent. Yeah. And so even though we didn't have that ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi community, we still had a Hawaiian community here, and so that really helped with
So
not only understanding who we are, but identifying or finding your identity there, and still being sort of ma'a to what it is to be Hawaiian or have those values.
you know.
Eventually, though, I moved back home to Nānākuli, and I attended Nānākuli High School from 9th grade to graduating, and I even took some more foundational basic Hawaiian classes, Hawaiian 1 and 2,
Beautiful.
during that time, just again to get ma'a again, to speaking, hearing.
Gotta refresh.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Because warranted, I will say, kindergarten through third, formative years. So it's great to have that background. But when you're gone for so long, 7 years, right? You tend to. It's a perishable skill in some
it
senses,
is. Yeah.
right? And so when I went back home, you needed 2 language credits. I don't know if it's the same up here, but you needed the 2, and so I thought, might as well be Hawaiian.
Why not? Yep.
Might be easy, might be hard. You never know. But at the very least, I'm gonna learn something, and I'm gonna internalize something there. And so it was great that I got to learn that, and I had a great kumu at that time. She was a little too mean sometimes, but you need that. You need that, especially when
I
you're
don't know
learning.
what ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi kumu is a little bit too. Who is it a little bit too mean?
Exactly. But I think you need that. You need the little kick in the butt. You
Yep.
know, when you
Yep.
pull on things the wrong way, or
I know.
you're saying things that don't make sense, you gotta know, or else you can just keep saying them wrong.
Or you just it's like walking around with lettuce in your teeth and nobody telling you.
Exactly.
Yep.
But that's the worst. Like, I'd rather somebody tell me I get nori in my teeth than I
Exactly.
go and talk to everybody I know, and then now I look dumb.
Yep. So same as the refresher of it. Yep.
But yeah. And so it was great having that sort of, that stern, o'olea sort of education, because it really helped to iron out those kinks that I had and had sort of forgotten how to speak or how to do certain things. And then from there, at the end of my senior year, I was planning to go to military, which I did. But the reason why I did that was so I could pay for college. And one of the things that sort of set off my journey with ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi and with West Oahu was a person from the Mets program, was Miss Hillary Arakaki. She enrolled me in Onipa'a, which was the summer bridge program that we had out at West Oahu. And with that summer bridge program, it really, I always knew I wanted to go to college, but if it wasn't there, like that drive wasn't there, or that enrollment process wasn't there, I probably would have went off on my own and you know, done other things in life. So that really sort of, what's the word? Set me off down that path and really
Kahua, that foundation.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so once I did that program, I got to meet all sorts of people at West Oahu and really build that network and essentially a second family of people who could ʻŌlelo. And I didn't necessarily have the widest net, but I had a quality net, you know. Might have been small, but eye-catching fish.
Quality, yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And so even though I left for a year to go to basic training, did all of that, I came back home to continue college out at West Oahu. And I was hired on as a student programming coordinator with Kainoa no Hulu at the time. And we continued the Onipa'a program, which I was a part of. And so I got to bring in students who were younger than I was and going through that same process and really ensuring that we don't lose track of that senior year, having summer to do whatever you want, being almost an adult at that point, and then not wanting to go to college after that. And so that was really important in that. And in that program, and even while I was going through it, you learn a lot about the aina, your relationship to it, the wahi of Kapolei and all the areas that surround it. And it really does a great job of not only setting you on preparing you for college and what to come for, but also giving you that kahua, that foundation to build on um,
And the support too, it sounds like.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like oh, we see you from this summer program, and then oh well, you're in college now. That's all we needed. It was a lot of, oh, how are you guys doing in classes?
Yeah.
You know, are you still enrolled? If you're not planning to enroll next year, why is that? Is it funding? Is it family issues? What can we do to help you? And so that was really important with that program, and ensuring that we didn't just leave them, you know, once they got in, we just, forget
followed them
about
through. That's
exactly. Because graduation is what we're really aiming for.
Yeah.
Not just retention and not just enrollment, but really graduating people from Waianae Coast, because that was our target audience, right? And
I mean, Waianae, you guys Waianae, your mokua o Waianae is just killing it these days. I love the programs and everything you guys do out there.
exactly. I love all of the things that have come out since my time, even, you know, and Warranted Onipa was one of the only programs at the time, but now there's so many different avenues, and even Sea Riders Production is one thing that we could or that is useful in that area, because digital media, right, isn't technology in general on the West Coast just really isn't something our parents or even grandparents, things like that, were ma'a to, you know. And so having these different avenues that kids could go to and being like, oh, I am interested in digital media, or I am interested in learning more about ʻŌlelo, or I'm interested in tech even. And so having that opportunity out there, and the fact that West Oahu was cheap was amazing for us on the West Side, because you're still getting a good, solid education, but an affordable one at that.
And I don't know how many people have been to the West Campus, but Papaʻololo Kahi held their Aha Ho'olo Kahi in 2023 there. 2023 or 2024? Sorry. 2023. And it was held there. And that was my first time there. The campus is so different. Like the environment, the feel, like it's so culturally infused. Like when you go to Manoa, you have to go to like Hawaii no Akea to be able to feel that like having that culturally. But here, like one of my hoa lelemia is a kumu at West Campus, and he is so rooted in mo'okuauhau. He's so rooted in ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, but he's the physics professor. There, you know, like, so it's like, but having all of that culture. So I love West Campus. But yeah, continue. Sorry, I just I'm so amazed by West Campus.
I was too, and again, that's where I got a lot of that foundational pieces of ʻŌlelo and that sense of community, like you're saying. The not just Hawaiian community, but the staff in general are very close knit, and we had a lot of pili days where we would go out and participate in the mala, or do all sorts of things where we go out to different areas around Kapolei and Ewa, that moku, right?
And just that ike Hawaii.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it really, it's not just the knowledge that you get, like, in the sense of, oh, I know this place, or I know the name of this. It's more of like the stories behind it, and the values that you get from it, and how that can not just work for your college education, but also going forward, and how you can take it out into the world, whether you stay in Hawaii or you come here like we did, you know.
See, and that's why the income. So, sorry,
No, you're good.
I didn't grow. I guess I could say I grew up too in Ewa, but my grandpa, my Kaʻula family, we lived in Ewa on Renton Road, right next to the railroad. So like the railroad was literally our neighbor, and we used to live out there. And so Kapolei, when I was growing up, was not there yet. It was Makakilo, right? Like and Kapolei was the only thing out there was Kolina. So the coming up of Kapolei was like just happening as I got older. So when I would go, and when we moved to Big Island, I only would go to my grandparents. Like I wouldn't go to all that side or anything. So I didn't really see Kapolei like developing. And then when I went home to see how much Kapolei has developed, I'm like, holy smokes! Like this is what
city, right?
And
That's
so like our house, and there used to be the Air Force Base. So like our house used to be right by the Air Force Base, and all we had was the barbed wired fence, and then the road, and then was the Air Force. And so now it's the road passes straight next to our house where I grew up to go to Kapolei, to go to Kamakaniali'i. And I was like, That's so, for me, it's so crazy because when we used to drive out to my auntie them out in Waianae to go see my auntie them, my grandma's, she played music, and so they would practice out in Waianae,
Mm.
and or Maili actually, and so we'd go out there, and it was like a whole day drive, like pack the cooler, like we're gonna drive all the way out over there, and now you just
I
get
mean,
on
with
the
the
road, boom,
traffic, it's one whole day
yeah, you just
adventure.
boom, you're right over there, and so I just, but like when I went to West Campus, I was like learning like this is whole uli uli, and this is like all of the all of those things, and so it's always funny because from growing up younger, when people go, "Oh, I'm from Kapolei," I said, "Oh, you mean Lower Makakilo?"
Yeah.
They're like, "No, Kapolei," and I'm like, technically Ho'oluli, but
I mean, Kalailo is still out there.
like exactly. So you're talking about all of those. So I love that the West Campus educated me on that. They're like Kalailoa, Ho'oluli, like they started, and I was like, oh, I had no idea, like, because after I moved from Oahu to Big Island, I became a Big Island like that's the knowledge, like all the Mohua and all of those places. So, again, love West Campus. Do they and they have a ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi program at West Campus too?
They do, yeah. So when I was
Beautiful.
at West Oahu, I took 101 and 102 because you always got to build
You
up that
gotta
kahua, right?
that kahua,
Ke
yep.
kahua mamua,
Yep.
mahope ke kuku,
Oh, you
right?
know.
Yeah. And so warranted, I think at the time one of my biggest things was, oh, it's gonna be an easy A if I just take 101, 102 again. And
Oh,
warranted it was, but I what I really liked about it was reinforcing that foundation because after having left for a year, I was even taking Hawaiian 1 and 2 in high school and Kaiāpuni growing up. I didn't really feel ma'a when I came back, and so warranted. Once I got through the class, I was like, okay, this is all just refresher stuff. But at the same time, there was things that I learned from, and at that time it was Emalani Case was my kumu
ah,
for a while.
love her.
Nani Loa,
She's
beautiful.
just the most beautiful person.
Beautiful person, beautiful ʻŌlelo. Like
Everything. Her ano is
exactly.
just so. She is one of my most favorite puke that I always reference back. Is that everything new was once everything new everything
Everything
ancient was
old.
everything new was once ancient, and she wrote this puke, and oh, I love her. Sorry, say her. I'm a fan. She knows
No,
I'm a fan. Emilani, we love you.
yeah.
Yeah, I love her so much.
Love her so much.
Oh my god,
It
that
was
was
a
your cool
it was a
ʻŌlelo
shame that
Hawaiʻi.
it was a
Oh,
shame that she moved to Aotearoa after
I'm
that.
so
But
jealous, but she's home now with two keiki.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm gonna move back then.
I'm
Take
no,
it
whoa,
off.
whoa,
No,
whoa,
no, no,
whoa,
no. No, yeah.
Hold on.
I loved every moment of her class. She was so kind. Like she really
Oh, she's.
understood and worked with people.
I'm so
And it
jealous.
made me
What a
so mad. You know
kumu.
what made me so mad was the kids never even take them that seriously. And I'm like, you have this wonderful kumu who's taking the time to be kind and really
When
give
did you
her
go?
effort.
When did you have her ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi classes? What year was
This
that?
was 2015, 2016 maybe.
Oh my gosh! At that point, you know who Emalani Case is. Like,
Right?
that's a privilege to
And
be
even if you don't
learning
know her,
from
like case in general
the
as a
exactly
case
the ohana.
hmm
Wow.
And so it was amazing and she was the first one who taught me what is the wow Hawaii. That was her oli that she loved to do
Yep.
in the beginning, and
That's from
loved it.
Anakala Larry Kimura. Yep.
Exactly. And so learning under her, not only because the curriculum pretty much stayed the same as what you would learn from your other 101,
Oh, yeah.
102,
Yeah.
Hawaiian 1, Hawaiian 2
Yeah.
when you're in high school. But the thing that she taught is like there are other things that you can think about, not necessarily the words, not necessarily the content, but the thought process behind it, the way to think Hawaiian as opposed to just saying things in Hawaiian, you know.
Yeah. That
And
Una
so,
Hawaii, that Ike Hawaii. Oh,
and then
I'm so jealous of you to have Emalani Cases your Kumu Hawaii, but I know how lucky.
it was very lucky. And then after that, when she had left, I had Kumu Kaua, Scott Kua Nuiman, and he was
Also,
amazing as
yeah,
well.
I was gonna say also very Maikai.
Like
Yeah.
the people that I
You lucked
had
out with
as
your
support
kumu, yeah.
exactly was great. Like I never had a kumu there that was like, oh, I am not necessarily learning from them. I'm not necessarily, maybe the word is like, there was always something I could learn from them, and not just learn again content wise, but learn spiritually, mentally.
Yeah. I think with ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, I think people don't understand like it's not a language, it's a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi isn't just, oh, you're gonna learn the word for to kuke, right? You gonna learn, no. You're gonna learn how kuke related to Aina, and you're gonna learn how, like, who had the kuleana of cook, like, who had the kuleana of preparing who went to go get the food, who went to prepare the food, who started, like, ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, and that's the piece that, like, I think people just, we lose sometimes if you haven't gone through that education of Hawaiian language. You lose the, like, that ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, it's not a language, it's a life.
And one of the things to touch on that Kumu taught was, and this sort of helped with my identity as being Hawaiian, yeah, because obviously I'm more fair than your average Hawaiian, more fair than my own cousins, you know? And even
Same,
my
same.
mom
Same,
and
same.
her siblings, I think, go dark, lighter, until her at the bottom, and she's the lightest. To kind of talk about that identity piece that I had referenced, he had brought up kind of that idea of, like, well, what is unique to Hawaii, yeah? And people would say, oh, fishing, you know, fishing is unique. Oh, I go hunting, you know, I'm Hawaiian, I go to the beach. And he would go, well, you can do that anywhere else, you know. There's other people who, right, there's other Polynesian cultures who eat kalo. There's other people who do poʻe.
Yeah.
But what you don't have anywhere else is ʻŌlelo, you know. And sure, there's slight, you know, it's a little bit similar when we talk about Maori and Tahitian, and even if you, in some contexts, is Samoan and all that. But when you're speaking ʻŌlelo, it's really what Hawaiian is, you know, and that idea that ʻŌlelo isn't just the vocabulary, but again, that mindset, right? That worldview of saying, and one of the other things he taught me at that time was when we were learning some of the sentence structures there, one of them is this idea of using a'ano, or like sort of adjective words, descriptive words, where instead of saying, like, oh, the knife cut me, yeah, the knife had no purpose to cut you. It had no intent, right? It just happened to cut you. And so you use different sentence structures in that context versus when something is intentfully trying to. His example that he brought up was like when your hat gets blown away by the wind. Yeah, the wind never mean for blow your hat away. So you're not gonna say the makani is blowing it away.
You had the wrong size hat on.
Exactly. Yeah, it's for you. Yeah. Right. You should have prepared a little more if that's the case. You knew it was gonna be windy. Nah. But and so that idea, and that's one of those worldview things, right? Where you start to think of the world as like, oh, I'm not. And not to say it's a victim mentality, but you're not the receiver of this action that the knife just happened to do that. You're more of that just so happened, you know, and like there are things that you can do to make it not happen. There are ways that you can see the world that makes it a little more, what's the word?
I know, I'm a little bit more like digestible. I don't know how to, like, I know where you're going.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like, it's not just understanding, but like, but that's what ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, and that's, you know, and I think, and again, we probably might kind of differ a little bit to a, you know, something we was talk about, but we're gonna talk about it now, you know, because I think this is a good segue into that, because, you know, the reason for me, I've always, even with halau, even with hula, ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi has always been my kahua. But so is hula, right? Hula and ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi. But here, what I had recognized is the privilege of being a language speaker. And granted, when I started halau, that had already been like 7 years away from school. Like, I haven't had anybody around me to ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi. But it just, to go back, like, okay, so how do I refresh? Okay, so I'm going to take these ʻŌlelo classes again. Like, all of those things to just refresh and, like, bring it back, even though I spent all those years, and the fluency had never left me. But I think being ma and being so ma'a to just ʻŌlelo and become, I know, with all the different huolelos and just being familiar, it was so hard because I didn't have anybody to speak to. And so then it came to like, I gotta start talking to like my classmates more, finding people that I can ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi with. So that was the the hard part, which led me to hula, right? Like in halau. And so just being able to work on vocabulary in halau and looking at mele, because mele is exactly what your kumu. When you look at mele, it's never like, oh, the mele is not about what the thing did to you. It's often like, how are you a part of that? Like, how do you, and that's hula, right? You become the mele. You put the words into action is hula. But ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi was the foundation. And, when people were like, oh, can you teach ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi classes? And I was like, I don't know if I can teach ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi classes. Like, maybe we could do some basic things and, like, I'm going to teach you how for ho'olauna and all of this. Because the mindset of how it is to learn ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi. And fortunate, like, you went to Kaiāpuni, so you know ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi protocol. And then, for us, when Kaiāpuni, we all come from the hale of aha punana and aha punana and punana, they gave us this guidance of like how ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi is a part of our life. ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi is who we are, as part of our identity. It's not this thing we just speak. It's not just language, right? And so when we're at home and granted, like, we know that in Hawaii you have the better resources of ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi. When you start to learn ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, when you from the pē time, from the pepe, the first things we start to learn is our ho'olauna and our mo'okuauhau. So our introduction, who we are, like, who are you in this space? Who are you in this world? Where do you come from? Who is your makua? Who is your kupuna? Where is the aina? All those things, right? There's all this pilina, and then that's how we start to ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi. And I think it's so important to have more kanaka, or not even just kanaka, like more people who have gone through Hawaiian language programs that have that mentality to be here. If you are here on the continent, we need you. Because I think what's happening is that I noticed that there's so many ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi programs just popping up everywhere because somebody took ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi 101, 102, 201, 202, and then when they would finish 202, they came out with one Masters of Education in Hawaiian language. And so dub themselves to become Kumu ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, right? And I think we need to start identifying and just like making note that that's not okay. Like, because if you don't teach the babies from the beginning that protocol, you will lose them already. That sponge, that position of like, they're sponges and they have to. So I guess, I see that a lot, and because I've been halau so long, and you have been living up here. Like, what is your manao? What is your take on that? Like, how do you see we could make, and we don't want to, and that's the other part to it. That there's a fine line, because I don't want to not encourage them to learn ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi. And I don't want to not, like, I want to encourage them to, like, yes, how do we revive ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi? But then also, like, you gotta be mindful of, like, how you doing it. Like, it's just like hula. I mean, that's another podcast. If we're going to talk about, all the hula schools that just pop up here and there, or all the people who took on workshop and then all of a sudden they're part of that kumu salao. Like, it's just that's how it goes. So, like, what is your manao? Just, you went to Kaiāpuni, you moved up here, you went back home, all of that. Like, what is your take on that now?
That's a big question.
I know, it is. I know. Sorry, it wasn't on the list.
No, it's okay. No, I love that. I like that it's just conversational like that. And to sort of touch on that piece, I was lucky enough, right, to have gone to Kaiāpuni. And for those who live out here that don't have that same opportunities, it is a little harder, because I grew up not necessarily thinking of ʻŌlelo as this fragile piece that needs to be revitalized, but more as like a live thing, like you were saying, right? Like something that is living, and it is a day-to-day occurrence, at least when I had school, because never have them back at home, but still. So when I was younger, right, I didn't think of it as like, this is a dying language that needs to be perpetuated. It was more of like, what do you mean this language is alive? I'm talking with my friends, I'm talking with my kumu, we do all these things. You get in trouble if you talk English, Yep. And so I was again lucky enough to grow up in that worldview, that mindset there. And so when I moved here, it wasn't as hard for me to find that identity piece,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and also to that when I rediscovered Hawaiian, so to speak, right, when I moved back home, it was easier to understand that, oh, olis should be happening when you're doing class. Oli kahas, oli komos, in halaus when you're doing things like that. That is part of protocol. That is part of being Hawaiian, is doing that, because you're not just doing an oli just to perform it, just to be performative. You know, you're doing it because you're asking for permission. You're asking to be able to do this, because at the end of the day, that kumu doesn't have to teach you. You know, they have every right not to. You're not entitled to have that ike that they're looking to pass down. And so that's what I think is important when it comes to those protocols, like you were saying, and understanding ho'olauna, right? Ho'olauna really grounds you in where you're coming from and who you are. When you're able to not only say, and this is touching on mo'oku'auhau as well, not only saying who you are, but where you come from, the people you come from, the aina you come from home. And like I was telling Jaden earlier when we was talking, when I first moved back up here again 3 years ago, I was working a warehouse job out at Target, and I would be loading up trailers in the back all by myself, just one trailer, me and myself and I, for 10 hours out of the day.
Wow.
And I would just sit there and go, bro, I feel so on my own here, you know? And like, I would just have conversations with myself in my head, like, well, how would I say this? How would I talk about my day today? Because when you're back home, you're not loading trailers, those Hawaiian words don't come up in your head, so you make up words, or you try later on, you go, okay, maybe there is a word for this already. Let me go check veheve or whatever it is. But at the moment, you're just like trying to find whatever connection you can. At least that was what it was like for me. And I had told Jaden, like, bro, one time I was just crying, like tears, just like, I feel like I'm so far away and disconnected. And so I told him, I can't imagine what that's like for people who spend their whole lives out here, you know, and not really feeling that belonging. So touching back onto that whole Alona piece, it's important not just to know where you are on the continent, but where you came from before that, where your family came from before that, and who came before you. Warranted, I cannot tell you my entire mo'oku'auhau. I cannot wrap them off like some people can.
It's a learning process.
And especially, I don't know my dad, so I only get one side of the oli that I can do, if anything. But just understanding at least that much, like what you do know and what you do have, is important, again, because like we had talked about before, you got to know where you've been to know where you're going.
Where you're going, yep.
And so touching on that again, I think it is important for people who are looking to educate, to not only know what you're going to talk about, but a little bit more. So just because you took 101, 102 doesn't mean you could teach 101, 102. Maybe at the very least take 201, 202, and then you could teach 101, 102. But in that same vein, you should still be doing protocol. You should still be thinking in Hawaiian. You should still be teaching people how to think in Hawaiian. Because they can know all the words they want and put it together, but if they don't know why they're putting it together, or why it's important to say it this way versus this way, they're going to go out there and not feel grounded again if they don't know their ho'olauna. It's just going to be, again, a performative action of like, I can say words in Hawaiian, you know, so...
And then they think, it's kind of, you know, it takes me back to like growing up in Hawaii. It's such a, we're in this so diverse, a fusion of language, right? In Hawaii, I mean, that's the kahua of pidgin, right? It's fusions of all these languages, right? And so growing up, you hear all of these different words, Japanese words, like, you know, Chinese words, all of these words. And for me, growing up in a Hawaiian household, I'm thinking that's Hawaiian words, right? And then I come up here, and then one of my good friends, she's from Japan, and I'm using the word, and she's like, oh my gosh, how do you know the word? I'm like, oh, it's Hawaiian. And she's like, what? And I was like, but in my head, I'm like, I already know it's not Hawaiian, but I was like, that's what we, and she goes, oh, that actually means this. And I was like, oh.
Like,
and,
I think shishi is one word that's Japanese.
Yeah.
It's not even Hawaiian pidgin.
No.
It's a mix, right?
Yeah, I was just using it. And And I would explain to her like, oh, that's what we should. And she would explain the cultural background of the word, and she's like, no, it's not like just that. It's because like this and this and this, and I'm like, wow. And then for me, like, I stepped back from saying that word because I was like, I don't know if I'm like, I don't know. And my grandma, she always laughed because our family is Japanese as well. And I go, oh, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm fake Japanese. And my grandma's like, why are we fake Japanese? I'm like, Grandma, we don't speak Japanese. We don't live Japanese. Like, I don't want to be the person, like, and I don't want to, like, go take one Japanese language class and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to teach Japanese. Like, that's just, I have so much respect for Hawaiian culture, and that's the fight we have. I wouldn't want to put that upon. So, and that's the mindset. Like, I'm trying to tell people, like, because you know how to wrap on kimono, is that even, like, even saying that, like, is that the proper, are you just going to go out and teach somebody how to put a kimono on? No, because there's a whole protocol. It's so beautiful to watch a kimono ceremony. And I had never been able to witness that until I was here to watch a kimono ceremony here at the Japanese garden with, like, they came from Japan, and I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. And that's the feeling, like, I think they have to have in an ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi class. They have to have that pilina. And you said it right, like, we have to honor the people who have come before us, our kupuna. Like, we literally stand on the shoulders of our kupuna. The path that we walk has already been laid. We literally are stepping in their footsteps as we go. And so it's just a constant reminder. And that's why, like, for those who are teaching in ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi up here, and I see that, I often reach out and I'm like, I'm here to be a resource because the complaint is that, oh, we don't have resources. Exactly what you were saying, like, how fortunate were we to grow up, like, and I might be a little bit older than you, where
just
so
a
just
just
a
a
tad,
couple
just a
months
tad
maybe,
bit
like, give or
older,
take.
where we were part of the movement of ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, right? Like, we were the start of Hawaiian immersion schools, like, so we saw that movement, we saw the fight of, like, them. We were the students in the education system where the Department of Education continuously told us, this, we're not going to amount to anything, we're not going to make it, we're not going to graduate, like, Hawaiian language people are not going to, you're not going to be able to go to college and all. I mean, we were that group of
You
kids.
still hear that, well,
we
like, even
oh
as I was growing
oh
up,
I
and
still
even
hear that, but I
nowadays.
still hear that from people in Hawaii, like, our
Mm-hmm.
Hawaiians, like, oh, no, no, my kid going, no offense to coming out of school,
Yeah.
my kid going coming out of school, or my kid going this school or whatever, because they're not going to Hawaiian immersion school because, how they going to get one job? Like, there's nothing for you to do in Hawaiian language. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
And to touch on that, it's such a narrow world view
It's
that a lot of
such
them. Because when you look at other countries, right, just because they know Japanese doesn't mean they cannot learn English, doesn't mean they cannot,
exactly. How
uh,
many Japanese people learning Hawaiian right now?
exactly.
Like, I feel like they can start a whole Hawaiian immersion school over there in
They
Japan.
probably could. It
Hold
might
up.
be better.
Yeah,
No, no,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no.
We
You
don't
don't
know. We don't
know.
know. We don't
We don't know.
Send the Kumus over there. Send the Kumus over there. No. So, like, it's just, I want them to, like, understand. And for me, I'm like, okay, well, this position I'm in now was never on the radar. And so I'm so fortunate to be in this position, have ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi background, because that is my kahua in everything that I do. ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi and hula. When I walk into a space here in Oregon, whether it's the Department of Education, into the congressional halls, into a senator or representative's office, or whatever that may be, I'm gonna walk in with my Hawaii, and what is the first thing I do? Oli. I'm gonna set the tone. I'm gonna mahalo. This is my protocol for entering. This is what I was taught. And then what I'm gonna ho'olona. I'm gonna tell you who I am, because why listen to me if you don't know? And I'm gonna tell you where I came from, and then let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? But that's what we learn, and I think that's the pieces that the people. That's why I'm like, I don't wanna. It's not. I don't want to discourage them from teaching ʻŌlelo Hawaii. I want to encourage them and empower them to reach out to additional resources, because I don't know what that feeling is of not having ʻŌlelo Hawaii around me. I grew up with it. I know, I saw the movement, I saw the fight, but I had the ʻŌlelo Hawaii surrounded me. my grandma is she's a Malaleo, she's a fluent Hawaiian language speaker from Bebe time from Niihau. And I got to grow up listening to her, listening to my ohana speak in that sense. Like, did I speak it? No. Did we know how to say yes, we did. Did we know we was getting scoldings? Yeah, we knew. We knew the different tones. But
Yeah.
it was, so I don't know what it's like, right? I don't. And I will never, I don't want to ever downplay the pain of living in a space, living away from your homeland and not having those opportunities. Like, we totally get it. And our aloha and our work, our hana that we're doing, our kuleana as poʻe ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi is to be able to be that resource for you. And that is that's my call out to all of our ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi people here on the continent. Like, we're here, we're available, like, we want to kokua. That's the call out to my kumus, that we want to start a coalition for the continent so that there's more access and resources. We just putting out all the calls and manifesting right now.
Yeah, sure.
And so but as I don't know, for me, I love to celebrate when kanaka want to move back home or they're moving home. I celebrate that. I think,
Yeah.
I too one day hope to go home. Is that in the plan yet? Not really, but I also know my privilege of, like, I get to go home pretty often for work, and I think that's because that's the pilina. I gotta make sure I stay grounded. And I gotta go touch the one, I gotta go touch the kai, I gotta go see the mauna, I gotta feel the wind, I gotta hear the birds to be able to do this hana. One of the beautiful things of Kalo is that through the years we've been able to partner with, we're here in Oregon, we're partnering with a lot of different Oregon government entities. I gotta give a shout out to the Oregon Pacific Islander Coalition and, our rock star Alicia over there, who really infuse coalition building and what it looks like for coalition building. And so here in Oregon, we have a coalition of Pacific Islander people or Pacific Islander organizations. And a couple years ago, led by the students down in Southern Oregon, just calling out the fact that, like, there's no visibility of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders in Oregon. Our students are categorized as API. And so when you're looking at report cards, like, and I'm going to lean more towards the education side. If you look at the education report cards, if you look at API, those numbers are high. Those numbers are great because I think our Pacific Islander students are overshadowed by our the Asian numbers, and not by nobody's fault or anything. That's just the way it goes. I think our narrative is very different. It's just, we know this. I mean, we can talk about this in Hawaii too, like the narrative of ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, how people kept saying ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi students will never amount to anything, and it jokes on you. But anyway, that's kind of the same thing that's happening here, is like our kids are not getting the support. And so in 2022, 2023, the movement to bring visibility to our Pacific Islander kids really started to rise here through our coalition building. And in 2023, we signed into law the Pacific Islander Student Success Plan here in the state of Oregon, which mandates the state to be able to provide support for Pacific Islander students through the Department of Education, but not just for support at the school, but it's for families, like to build family, to build connection, to build curriculum, to be able to educate the teachers and educate the families. How do we bring all this together? So the Pacific Islander Student Success Plan comes, and then the other part of that, the big part of it, was to work with community-based organizations like Kalo. How do you have the Department of Education work with cultural practitioners or cultural people who know our culture? How do we work together? And so there's a grant program. And so here at Kalo, our focus was language, right? Like, we know that our ʻŌlelo is our life. And how do we create a space, because we know the pain, we know that feeling from our poʻe Hawaii who are living here, who never had the access, right? They didn't have, the way we grew up was very, like we were saying, it's very different. We didn't worry about the language, we had access to language. And so how do we create access to language here? And so we created a program called Hi'ikwa, And Hi'ikua is our program that we house all of our ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi programs, all of our ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi building, from creating curriculum that can go to schools, creating curriculum that can go to the Department of Education, even curriculum to the Oregon Health Authority, on how do you, provide that ike for our poʻe Hawaii. And so our program that you are a part of, may have just learned, is our Papa ʻŌlelo Hawaii classes. And also I give shout out to Kumu Haya as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has been 3 years in the making of bringing ʻŌlelo Hawaii. And so our Hi'ikua program focuses on how we bring those generations together, and how do we infuse ʻŌlelo Hawaii in the homes, in our families. And so we've had our first cohort of ʻŌlelo Hawaii. We're going into our second cohort of ʻŌlelo Hawaii, and then we're actually now doing a part 2, meaning like we've found students and we found haumana who really grasp the ʻŌlelo Hawaii, are thriving in just our ʻŌlelo Hawaii 101, and how do we move them, how do we level them up into a place of building fluency. And so that's our Hi'ikua program. Also give a shout out to Lexi as well, who's on our team for building the program, building the grant, and seeing the importance of language. So to go with that, right? Hearing the call out from our poʻe Hawaii, like, we don't have access here. It's, the pain of losing identity because we have our language stripped away from us, and we hear that, like, we know that's the same thing, not only here but in Hawaii as well. Like, that's the same generational pain we feel. However, how important is it for us to have these programs on the continent, as well as making sure we have the right resources and the right kumu teaching those programs? So it's a big question. No, but like, what is your mana'o on that?
And I think it touches a lot of kind of what we've gone over over the last 30 minutes or so, in the sense that, one, having that ʻŌlelo foundation here not only provides a better sense of identity for those kanaka that are out here, but also allows you to reconnect that piko right back to Hawaii. Because it is important. I'm not going to say that Aina isn't important. Hawaii is... I wouldn't be who I am without Oahu. The Waianae Moku. But at the same time, just because you're not home doesn't mean you can't connect back to home. And ʻŌlelo is one of those avenues that can really do that. And it is important to ensure that we are teaching them in a manner that is consistent with Hawaiian values, with Hawaii. Because, again, like we talked about before, if I'm just teaching them the language or the words, you're not going to really do much for them. And they may feel some sort of connection, like in the sense of, I know these Hawaiian words, I know this and that, but there's not that. I wouldn't necessarily feel personally a sense of belonging or that sort of solid na'o that you have. That pa'a, exactly. If it wasn't for not just learning ʻŌlelo, but the ways in which I learned. Like I said with Kumu Emalani case, Kumu Ko'ua. Even Kumu Ka'eo, he was my 301, 302 teacher, and amazing guy as well.
Man, you jealous.
I lucked out, bro, I'm telling you. Warranted, I was at the West Oahu campus, so it was all virtual. But still, he teaches so well virtually that like I felt like I was in the classroom. And some of the things that he even taught, and this is one of the like challenges. I know we had talked about kind of what misconceptions or challenges that we face out here as opposed to being back home. And one of those things is that challenge of like when you're not surrounded by pidgin, right? You don't necessarily have as quick of an understanding of maybe what it would take to be or to speak ʻŌlelo, right? Like the sentence pattern, e aho, right? E aho no oe, whatever it is. It more better you do this, that's a Hawaiian pidgin slang. And Kumu Kaleko, he talks pidgin as well as he talks ʻŌlelo. So that connection that he uses to bridge your understanding of pidgin to your understanding of ʻŌlelo really helps to, again, frame your mind around, we do still kind of use ʻŌlelo. Even though we're saying English words, we're using ʻŌlelo patterns, right? When I say, big at your house, that's an ʻŌlelo pattern, right?
That is,
And so again, understanding that the language is important, but the thinking in Hawaiian is just as important, if not more.
More, yeah.
And so really touching on that protocol piece, and even when you're not doing only to go into a classroom or to go into a halo, when you're doing it, we used to do ollies just to go out and pick stuff around the area, right?
Yeah,
and
you gotta ask, yeah.
and it's not just, oh, I can do the ollie just for do them, and then you really gotta sit there and listen for the whole ailona, right?
Yeah.
If when tree snaps and breaks in half, while you didn't, oh, maybe better you don't go out that day.
There's yeah.
Exactly, and so understanding that performing the ollie isn't the only thing that you're doing. You're also waiting to listen. You're waiting to hear the response.
Performing the protocol isn't always the lesson. It's the ho'ailona. So when you perform protocol and something within that protocol happens, a misstep or something, that's your ho'ailona. We should also listen to that here on the continent. Yes. Ho'ailona on protocol. Yep.
Exactly. And so, yeah, just to touch on that, I think that really is the, what to say, like crux of the issue and all, is that we should be not just teaching people Hawaiian vocabulary, but teaching them Hawaiian values and teaching them Hawaiian.
Your lavena, your loina,
how to no'ono'o Hawaii.
Yes, how to no'ono'o Hawaii. I think that's the because like even when I think about it, right, when I hear people teach like for example, like when we're teaching our keiki and we get to the place of teaching them vaiho'olu, like just teaching them the word vaiho'olu, people go, oh, vaiho'olu means colors, and I'm like,
how you break that down?
But vaiho'olu, let's look at it and then you try to teach and it's so crazy because when you teach the keiki, right, you go, they're like, oh, kumu vai, that's water. I said, what is lu'u? Like all of these concepts, and then they're like, wow. And then even like to look at anwenue, just anwenue, and then having them see that build, and then teaching them the water cycle, and then they're starting to put, and then all of a sudden as they get older, like, so my keiki learn in halau, they learn all of that, the whole launa or all of this, and then as they get into opio, now we're gonna do kawaiakane. And in their mind, they've had all of this already to get to kawaiakane. So that when they only kawaiakane, it's their pilina to understand the importance of vai. Right? Why are we talking about all of these concepts and how do we relate to vai? So it's not the vai ho'olu part that you're really talking about, it's the vai part when you look at, and the colors, how everything in our honua, when you take the word oma'oma'o apart, or like mele mele, but then let's look at kiao mele mele and let's talk about that, So it's like all of those things, and so that's why like when people just teach vai ho'olu means color, and I'm like, actually, and I saw it, and that comes from the blessings of the kumus that I've for my ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, I've had the opportunity, because we were in the beginning stages, to be able to listen to Uncle Larry Kimura, the Anaki Kaura, Kumu Anakalapila Wilson, and Kumu Hiapo Pereira, and Yota Cabral, like all of these kumu, right, who are the pioneers of where we are in Hawaiian language today. And so like that's the remembering of like we need to think and no'ono'o Hawaii. And that's the lesson here, is that to all of our poʻe Hawaii who want to learn Hawaii, who are actively learning Hawaii, ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, who are actively, going to the Hawaii Loa program at Windward Community College, taking your programs online, and all of those. It's not about just learning the language. It's not about just learning how to say the word. It's about how do you apply it to no'ono, thinking Hawaiian. Like, how do you think Hawaiian? And once you get to that place, that is the understanding of ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi. That is when you truly have that pilina, which is why if you're going to teach the babies, you got to teach them to no'ono'o Hawaii. I mean, I put in a leo, like, the protocol of the keiki, and the keiki who's coming to the school is the one that has to introduce the makua. And they have to ask, kumu, can I come into class? Can I come into the school? And every kumu is standing there like, and it's not about just teaching them to ask permission, or no, it's teaching them the no'ono'o Hawaii. You don't just walk into somebody's home. You don't just go into their hale. You don't just, that's not what you do. That's not the practice. That's not our values. And so that's, I think, that is the piece that is so vai. And I think it's
even that word vai,
right? Exactly.
It's
I know.
a great example of
Yeah.
well, why does vai mean wealthy? What does that mean?
And when we take what is the root of the word? Yeah, exactly.
And that shows a no Hawaii,
Yeah.
right? Like why is water important?
Yeah.
Why,
The no Hawaii, I think that's so my kai to ground with that. So to to bring us to a place of, our pani, we had our vehena and I mako pani o kia kuka ana. O ka mea nui he leo mahalo kia ia oe no ka ho. No ka kipa ana mai, no ka noho ana kuka ana e pili ana ka ʻŌlelo Hawaii. And ke kahi mea nui just to hoʻolaha, ka papa ʻŌlelo Hawaii. Ina hiki oi ke ina hiki oi ke kaʻana like kai mau manao e pili ana ka papa ʻŌlelo Hawaii ma'anei makalo ina hiki ke kaʻana like just na manao li'i hiki lako ke mau popo aia mako ma'anei e hele mai ina papa ke la ano mau mea ina makemake oi vehe
no na haumana
no na ohana no ya oi hiki oi ke koho maybe ya oi no kia he mea nui no e kokua ma kia o ana I ko ʻŌlelo Hawaii.
o ka mea nui no oia ke kukulu ana ke kahua I nā ale I nā noho oi maʻane ia ano maʻalahi ke hea ke la mea
Ka moloa, maybe. Ka mana o moloa, like ale puna e yeah. Hoi aku ka maʻalahi o ke la, yeah.
Ai, no leila. I kia maula, ano nui nā hea ke la mea.
Ka papahana?
Ale he mau resources.
Yeah, nā kumuhana.
Nā kumuhana?
Nā mea kumuhana, yeah.
Ano nui nā kumuhana ma ka puna I vele, ma YouTube, hiki a oi ke nāna
vikio.
Aha punana leo.
Yeah.
He mau podcast ma ke la, ma vikio.
Yeah.
He ano vai ka nupepa, ka hea ke la mea ma nā ana ke Larry Kumura.
Ka mana leo, ke la mea, maka, oh gosh, no kia alava, yeah, ke kuka, he mana leo, but hiki oi ke hele, ina hele oi I vehevehe.org. Oh my gosh, o vai,
point of
ka puna I vele, ike vo ka mea, yeah. Aole, but yeah, maka, ina hele oi I vehevehe.org, hiki oi ke ike ke la mo nupepa, puya.
No leila, ano nui nā kumuhana I imi.
Yeah, no ke kokua ana.
No ke kokua ana I kau huakaʻi o ʻŌlelo Hawaii. No leila, I nā mamake oi, I nā he iʻini I loko o, ana nui nā mea. A ka pono oi e imi. Pono oi e imi. I nā ale oi imi, poho.
Oia, ma laila no ka moloa ki kai mamele. Ina a ole maʻalahi ka imi ana. Mana o lako, paʻakiki a leila pau.
A ka ale paʻakiki.
A ole paʻakiki.
Ana nui na hana ka hiki.
Hiki ke huli. Hiki ke huli na mea, yeah.
He mau kumuhana maʻanei. I nā hui kau oi, e leka wila mai.
Oia no, yeah.
Na leila, oia ka mea nui. No.
Yeah. Pono e imi, mai moloa, oia ka manao. Ina makemake oi kukulu ke kahua, pono e imi.
Mai moloa a mai hilahila.
Mai hilahila.
Oia ka mea,
Waihoka hilahila
he mea nui e ana misconception that, pono au e wala au me nā mana leo.
Aole.
Ai, woki.
Yeah, woki. Aole pono, yeah. E vehevehe ana wau ka mea no ka hilahila. I'm gonna do this part in English because that is a good manao. Hilahila is shame, right? And so o ka mea nui mai hilahila, yeah, don't be shamed because I think that's the misconception. Like, oia ka manao. Like, if we are ashamed, then you're never gonna learn. But don't be just hele mai again. And also, like what we tell our hamana, mai hila hila, and if you get corrected by your kumu, it's because we don't want you to walk around with lettuce in your teeth. He mea kokua wale no, ke kokua nei mai hila hila. Pono e hele mai ka papa, aia loa ka papa ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi ma kalo, aia nā kumu, aia nā poʻe Hawaiʻi, e hoʻomaka hou ana ka hui kuka kuka, kama ilio wale ma ka ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi e hele mai. No nā poʻe ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, nā poʻe maʻa i ka ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, he kahea ki ia o ko e hele mai, e kākoʻo i ki ia kahua e kākoʻo i nā poʻe ke hoʻaʻo nei e aʻo i ka ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi o kēlā ka mea nui. So, again, mahalo ia ʻoe no ke kipa ana mai, mahalo no ka hele mai ana, no ka ʻōlelo ana, no ke kākoʻo ana. And mahalo to all of you folks for coming today, for joining us again and listening to our KOKO podcast. I do want to just do a little shout out. We are now on Instagram, koko.podcasts on Instagram. To hele mai, it's a beautiful new podcast. I do know that we're doing a little makana giveaway if we hit a certain amount of followers. So if you're my friend, if you're my hoaloha, if you're Keola's hoaloha, please go follow us on KOKO Podcast because the makana is a surprise. It could be a pencil, or it could be like the new Aloha collection and Pendleton collaboration bags. We don't know. It's a surprise. Again, mahalo for joining us today. Mahalo yaoi Keola for joining us. And again, may we all celebrate Mahina ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi, and may we all come together to uplift, elevate, and continue the movement of making sure that the revitalization of ʻŌlelo Hawaiʻi is paused. So mahalo ya oko, and join us again at our next podcast. Aloha.
Aloha.